Skyrim's Stealth Archer is one of the most popular builds in gaming. It has even come to a point that any long-range sneaky character with a bow will be deemed as an offspring of the Stealth Archer. But to make things more interesting, I'll even argue that the Stealth Archer itself has outlived the stealth genre. Not because stealth games have dwindled in quality or there is just no market for this type of game, but mainly because it's more fun to sneak in non-stealth games. Because choosing to be a sneaky assassin in a game where you can also be an immortal dragon warrior feels 100 times better than when you are constricted by the rules and forced restarts in pure stealth games. Every player, whether an old Elder Scrolls fan or new, have probably dabbled in the art of shooting a bow and arrow while sneaking. The build's popularity even created a meme, one that further solidified the inevitability of becoming a stealth archer in Skyrim. This is regardless if you start off as a high elf mage or a tanky Nord warrior. Eventually, one way or another, you will pick up a bow and morph into the stealth archer. And so to an observer, someone looking for trends in the next big gaming genre, it would have been easy to conclude that stealth games might be the next big thing. And this was back somewhere around 2012, a few months after Skyrim released, and everyone's starting to see the promise that is the stealth archer. And in some way, this was correct. The most recent heavy hitters of the stealth genre like Dishonored released back in October 2012. Mark of the Ninja came out September 2012. Hitman Absolution debuted in November 2012. Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Blacklist released in 2013. This further extended a couple more years with Styx Master of Shadows releasing back in October of 2014. Then Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain back in 2015. And Dishonored 2 in 2016. And probably a bunch more smaller titles that I've forgotten to mention. But fast forward to today in 2026 or in whatever year you are watching this, if you ask someone, what is the best modern stealth game? They'll still direct you to Dishonored, to Mark of the Ninja, and to Splinter Cell. Although Hitman is also a big one and perhaps the sole survivor of the golden age of stealth games, with Hitman World of Assassination having consistent and recent updates. Though I dislike the live service approach that they have adopted, which is why I'm having reservations touching that game. But going back to the point, the stealth genre stagnated, or perhaps died to be more dramatic with the titles I've mentioned above. After the mid-2010s, pure stealth games were a thing of the past. However, Skyrim and the Stealth Archer were still going strong. Even to this day, Skyrim's Stealth Archer build content gets hundreds of thousands of views. Anyone who is returning to the game would swear they wanted to be anything but a Stealth Archer. Yet after 15 hours in, they find themselves with a bow and crouching in the darkness. But to be honest, this is not only true in Skyrim. If you look at most big games, especially open worlds, a version of the Stealth Archer exists inside them. A recent example would be in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, where you can opt to be a sneaky Henry with a bow or a crossbow. Or in the so-called indie Skyrim Tainted Grail, there are also popular Stealth Archer builds. Even in titles like Assassin's Creed Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, a franchise that used to revolve around stealth gameplay decided that including Stealth Archer options are great moves. For futuristic settings like in Cyberpunk 2077, Stealth Sniper builds are the equivalent to the Stealth Archer. And these builds are so fun to play. And when someone posts about them, whether in a YouTube video or a Reddit post, most of them tend to get positive engagements. Which again means that this type of playstyle has a market. That players, whether they like hyper-immersive RPGs or futuristic open worlds, the stealth archer will always be welcomed. But why not stealth games? Why did big companies stop creating them? And why amazing smaller stealth games like Gloomwood and Filcher can only reach a very small portion of the gaming market, when they are basically offering the same experience as the grandfather of stealth games? Well, to give my 2 cents, stealth game design just doesn't fit the modern market's taste. Yes, they still like the stealth archer from Skyrim, but pure stealth games where you have to wait for 10 seconds for a guard to look away, or when getting detected means you die instantly, feels unrewarding and too restrictive. Especially when other readily available games that offer more player agency and sense of accomplishment are in abundance. So let's dive deep into these 2 aspects that I just spoke of: player agency and sense of accomplishment. So you load into that new stealth game you just bought. You start the tutorial and it tells you the steps to assassinate someone. Go behind them and press mouse 1 to assassinate. The first time you do this, it will feel satisfying. And the best stealth games often do that, with either cool animations or by adding that weight to the kill, making it feel brutal and satisfying. But it makes things easy. As long as you can get behind guards, you can assassinate them with 1 hit. And while that is what you want for a stealth game, it kinda degrades the value of a kill. I mean, compare a stealth takedown from Dishonored. You press 1 button and you kill a guard. Now compare it to something like in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, where you press the takedown button, then you have to complete another quick time input to successfully perform the stealth kill. If you fail, your target will break free. The stealth kill fails. Now the kill is much more satisfying when you do it. You have a sense of accomplishment. Now, before you say KCD2 is not a stealth game and such a thing wouldn't work in a pure stealth environment, well, let's look at Mark of the Ninja. When you perform a stealth kill, you also have to complete additional input to make sure that the kill is silent. If you fail, the guard will scream, potentially alarming nearby NPCs. This adds an additional risk to the action, making a successful input much more rewarding. But how about in Skyrim? How does the stealth archer provide a better sense of accomplishment than in stealth games? Well, obviously stealth takedowns in Skyrim are pretty basic. However, if you do not invest in your sneak ability, stealth takedowns will basically be non-existent. This is because a successful stealth takedown in this type of game requires you to deal enough damage to bring an enemy's health to 0. And so while there is no quick time input required, there is a deep level of investment and in-game knowledge necessary to create a stealth archer build. You need to level up sneak to increase your stealth damage and make sure you are effective at hiding. You also need to increase your bow skill so that bows and arrows deal high enough damage for 1-hit kill shots. So whenever you deal a killing blow with your bow or even dagger, especially against bosses, there is so much weight to it because the efforts you had to make. This is why regardless of how simple the stealth kill animation is in Skyrim, that stealth kill sound will always be chef's kiss. To give stealth games some credit though, while stealth kills alone do not provide a sense of accomplishment, perfect stealth runs do instead. However, the problem with this is that most players may not have the patience to restart levels and do perfect runs. This is why for certain players, completing a level in stealth games may feel like finishing that hated math test. You had to complete it because you had to. In this case, you bought the game and are now compelled to finish it. The feeling you get is not a sense of accomplishment, but a sense of relief that that part of the game is over. And so if that's not an experience that excites you, you likely hate the standard stealth game design. Player agency is a big and popular word in open world and RPG games. And in Skyrim's stealth archer phenomena, it is an important aspect. Player agency simply means the player's freedom to make decisions that will impact their experience with the game. This can be as simple as having a morality system that will base the game's ending on the player's action. Or it can be as complex as a hyper-dynamic world that changes depending on player decisions. For its relevance to this topic, I'll mainly be referring to how stealth games in Skyrim allow players to choose how they want to approach conflict. You see, in stealth games, the gameplay loop is quite simple. You sneak, kill enemies, complete the objective, and extract safely. Player agency often comes in the form of how you will deal with enemies. Do you kill every guard you see? Do you choose to sneak past them and avoid killing? Do you prefer to use poison blades and darts to kill, or prefer explosive traps? Now, while stealth games do provide a sense of player agency, the restrictive nature of the genre somewhat makes them feel claustrophobic, mainly due to the importance of remaining unseen and discouraging combat. Compare this to a game like Skyrim, wherein the choice isn't just about what type of stealth character you are, but what character archetype you want to be. Since Skyrim is not a stealth game but an RPG, we have the choice to either be a warrior, or a mage, or a thief. There are some hybrid classes in between those, but those are the three pillars of any character archetype. And so playing Skyrim as a stealth archer is a conscious choice for the players. The game does not force you to play this way. I mean, from the overarching narrative of being the Dragonborn, a stealth archer is one of the furthest builds you may imagine. Though others may argue that Skyrim accidentally created a gameplay funnel in which the stealth archer is a very viable and fun approach, mainly because of the bland combat and magic systems. But at its core, the stealth archer is a conscious choice. At the end of the day, if you really want to play as an ice mage clad in glass armor, no one can stop you. And it's that ability to choose to play the stealth archer that makes it more compelling. In games like Skyrim, where at face value, the game seems to want you to play as a warrior clad in heavy armor, playing as the opposite of that and being successful will bring an immense sense of accomplishment. I mean, when you manage to kill a dragon with 3 sneak attacks, it will feel as if you outsmarted the game. Well, it's really hard to apply the things that made the stealth archer great into the stealth genre. The stealth archer is amazing because it is a viable and fun option in an open world RPG, making players feel like a rogue not just through gameplay but by the choices they make. But if I were to suggest an idea, I'll say that maybe stealth games need to make players more invested in the small things. Make assassinations feel earned, though not by damage requirements but through additional inputs. Give players creative and fun ways to customize the stealth experience. Perhaps give them a bunch of tools that will greatly change how levels are played. But ultimately, for stealth games, I think the stealth archer signifies that gamers do still want to play sneaky characters. That a large portion of the video games market wouldn't say no to stealth games. Though please do note that something needs to be done to address the restrictiveness that can put off a lot of players.